Nah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah, we just cut straight into the live show instead of the
Oh,
introduction.
what happened to the introduction? It's Fat
Yeah.
Jesus Live. Let's go.
No, I did that for a reason because this is a very hot topic right now. So a lot of people are actually interested in this topic and stuff. So tell everybody what we're gonna talk about.
Well, we're gonna be talking about the most craziest things today, and it earns this wonderful, wonderful hat of mine that I made. We're gonna be talking about flat Earth. So, for those of you that really believe in it, join me down this rabbit hole because it is quite interesting. Let me take that off. I don't want to attract any lightning or anything indoors. So, man, I tell you what, we have a book, a real big banger for you guys. It's called The Greatest Lie on Earth. It's written by Edward Henry, and it's talking about the proof that our world is not a moving globe. And that is like a nice little flat thing. I even advertised it. I made some jokes about it, but I mean, I'm not the greatest person to talk about flat Earth because I believe the Earth is round. I love rockets. I support NASA. I guess if for a flat earther, I'm indoctrinated into the whole round Earth Hall of Fame, and I've been brainwashed since birth. So, what do you think?
So you believe the Earth is round, basically, right?
Yeah, I believe the Earth is
Okay.
round. What do you guys
Yeah.
think? What does our viewers think?
Mm,
Because I want to know what our viewers think. Do they believe the Earth is round? Do they believe? Are you afraid to even say the Earth is flat? Do you truly believe the Earth is flat? We need to know because we don't want to make fun of you. I don't want to make fun of you. I don't make fun of people actually. I'm just interested in knowing your side of the story. What drives you to believe the earth is flat or concave? It could be concave, right? It could be rounded out. No, it still could be round, half round, still flat on the bottom, right? It could be, you know, but there is like ideas of the earth being flat, like there's a firmament, there's different levels. Even in Indian religion there's different layers of the planet, but then there's inner earth too. So is the inner earth a flat as well as a plate? I mean, it's done in pages, but I think you believe in flat Earth, and I'll tell you why. I have proof that you believe flat Earth is real. I'll tell you right now. I have physical proof
okay, show
that
me.
you are a
No,
believer.
no. Before you say anything else, show me.
Uh, just turn around.
No,
Turn around right now.
no, that's just a map.
Turn around. No, no, it's not just a map. I
Yeah, it
think
is.
you've been brainwashed to
No.
put that map right on the back.
So,
There's other
let me tell
maps.
you.
There's other
No.
maps.
So
There's maps
this
that are round. Why are you
this
putting
this
a
this is
rectangle map behind
that's
you?
maybe you should have asked me first before assuming, and that's what a lot of people do is they
Hmm.
assume what people believe, and that's the most ignorant
That's
thing you
true.
can do.
That's
So I'll tell
true.
you the story. We went to Hobby Lobby. My son loves Hobby Lobby, so we
Okay.
go to Hobby Lobby. And I was like, "Oh, I need a background because I used to have a green screen. I hated the green screen because it always do. Sometimes it will work perfectly, and sometimes it would just glitch out.
Yeah.
Something was StreamYard at the
That's
time and
true.
all
If
that
you
stuff.
eat too
So,
much asparagus, your skin may turn green.
so I was like, "Oh, let me grab this," and I was like, I grabbed it, and I just got all kinds of stuff back. I got like the Simpsons over here. I got Batman over here.
Oh,
I
that's
got
awesome.
I got
Show
uh
show 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 the.
well, I'm not going. If I move my camera's
No,
actually on
no, you
top of
don't have to
my.
move it. You can make your screen bigger. That way people can see your background.
No, I can't. Not on mine.
Oh,
Mine is
you
an
can.
old school camera. Yeah, that's why I said I
No,
got to
no,
get
no.
a
I
new
mean,
camera.
switch it from the small camera to the big one. You have the big one right now on the screen for the book.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the only one that I'm using.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
so
So
yeah,
so
you got
no,
the
I don't.
you got the whole atlas, but you got 90 degrees corners on each of that map. But
I also have a globe.
you
I also have a globe.
oh, you
Also,
do?
so
Oh, okay.
so this.
But
So what I like to.
you can't fold the globe and put it in your pocket and travel with it,
All right.
right?
There's a lot of people out there like that. I actually got a lot of people hyped up over the last few weeks about this because I'm a bass fisherman. So
Uh-huh.
anybody that knows anything about bass fishing is that it's all about baiting the fish, right? Making the entice the fish enough to grab the bait, and now you got you a 10-pound bass
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on your line. So what I like to do is I like to give out information. So a lot of people who I have books on a lot of different subjects. I mean, a lot of subjects. And this just happens to be the next book in line that I'm doing on my series, what I've learned from reading this book. So I've already had like 80 or 90 plus books already before this. And they range from all kinds of different subjects. So and I have a list that I'm actually going through. So, and I actually have a list on my website of some, not all the books that I own or have read, because I don't own all of them, of course.
No, of
Sometimes I
course.
get some from libraries, sometimes I get them from the Kindle, right? But I do have a lot of physical books. I can say at least at bare minimum, I have at least 500 physical books at bare minimum. But I've probably read different books throughout my lifetime from libraries and so on and so forth. But what I like to do is I like to go over the physical books that I have on hand personally, of all the books that I think is very important. And I say that because of the simple fact that I look for similarities in all these books, and I choose one of those books out of them that simply basically gives you almost the same information.
I'm waiting for your background to turn into a library. It's like
Yeah, I was
nothing but
that
rows and rows of books.
it ain't never gonna happen. It ain't never gonna
You
happen.
look
But
you
this is
look
like
like you look like that guy from Legal Aid. You
so like
look like
this right here.
mistaking you for a lawyer.
Like right here, this is the book right here that we're going over, and this is all the
Dude,
tabs that I found.
that guy had a lot to write about flat Earth, huh?
but see, I'm not only going to use that book. I'm going to use another book just to back up this book on certain parts. So what I try to basically do.
Tell me if that's not large print. That's a
No, this is
lot of pages.
I think it's like 900, 1,000.
Jesus Christ.
You see?
Did he just take? Did he like take every
Yes,
flat
1,000.
earther's book and put it in there or something?
That's over 1,000 pages. But that's not even the crazy thing, bro. I got a book right here. Everybody thinks that I all I do is read. So I have this book right here that I'm going to use for it too. And I'm just started reading this book, and this is already all the tabs
Which one
that
is
I
that
have
one?
on it.
Oh, symbols.
Yeah, dictionary of symbols. And
Bro,
I bought it because
that's just one book. There's like 50 million books out there.
No, that's just this book right here is probably the bread and butter of them all, because what I'm reading so far, it has a lot of stuff in there. So that book right there it gives a lot. But I'm using this book right here because I'm finding a lot of similarities on ideas in this book. So what I like to do is this guy right here, like I said, he wrote this book, Edward Hendry. It's an expanded edition, so of course it's more information. He says the greatest lie on earth is proof that our world is not a moving globe. Now, I actually talk about heliocentric in my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, which became a bestseller. But in this book, he basically gives out all these ideas of why Earth is flat, okay? And that basically, in so many ways, is the center of the universe. Okay.
But do you find him credible where he believe not credible like his belief is credible, but I'm talking about, is he credible in being a flat earther, or are you skeptical that he might be more leaning towards being a round earther than a flat earther, or in between?
This is where I think it's important that people have to learn how to separate their religious thoughts from scientific ideas. This book is based off of biblical ideas in his eyes, which is very interesting to me because there were religions before, Christianity, or I could say as the Abrahamic faith.
That's a gray line too. I'm going to be honest with everybody here. In the social sciences, we have to understand that we have to respect people's religion and their ideas, and then you have science, and then people that speak about their own beliefs. We have a hard time at times that even though we believe in what people say, we have to be careful on what we trample on other people's beliefs as well. So if this man truly believes that the earth is flat or in a certain way, he doesn't Does he really come out and say that the earth is flat, or he says it in a way where there's a different terminology? God made this in this way, and there's no other way that's going to be, rounded like this.
Right. So even before we even start, in his introduction, what really fascinates me is this is what he says. He says, an honest man who is shown to be wrong must either admit his error or cease to be honest. There are
Mm.
many so called scientists and theologians who have made accommodations for falsehood. In order to keep their station in life, they have compromised their integrity and knelt in fealty to mammon and the praise of men. So basically, he's just saying that if you're wrong, just admit that you're wrong. But see, this is where it gets interesting because I actually did my research in this. Now, I'm going to let everybody know I don't have a college degree in anything. I'm a military veteran who was wounded in combat, got out the military, started following his passion and just reading books and just sharing
It's
what I've
very
actually read.
understandable. Yes.
So all I do is share what I've read. This is not what I believe. I just take the time. What most people don't do is I want to see what this person said personally. Why does this person believe that the earth is flat? Okay. So I bought this person's book. And then I took what they said, did my due diligence, research, and found out for myself whether that person was just incorrect or they just didn't know what they were talking about. And this is a perfect example of why it's important to be honest with yourself. Now, if he's an honest man, if he's proven that, what he's wrong, then he should be able to come out because he's the one that says as an honest man. So if you can't admit it at yourself that you're wrong, because it's guaranteed not everything is right. Nobody's right on anything.
Could it be that he's attacking the science of why the earth is round, and the people that promote that the earth is round, that also the institutions like NASA and all that pushing the effects of that? Maybe he's just directing that flow of energy towards them, saying they're not being honest.
What he tries to do is basically use other people's information against them. So I'll give you an example. And this is a perfect example of how it's very important because this is all in the introduction right underneath each other. It's very important to be careful what you say if you're going to talk about being honest. And this right here should be able to be one of the first things that I would disagree with him on. Okay. He says George Orwell stated that in a time of universal deceit telling, the truth is revolutionary act. We live in such a time. The most universally accepted deceit today is the ingrained teaching that the earth is a globe spinning at approximately 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, while at the same time orbiting the sun at approximately 66,000 miles per hour. While the earth is orbiting and spinning, the sun in turn is supposed to be hurtling through the Milky Way galaxy at approximately 500,000 miles per hour. The Milky Way galaxy is itself alleged to be racing through space at a speed ranging from 300,000 to 1,340,000 miles per hour. So that was like a kind of a quote that he was using, but he forgot to finish out the quote. But what he said was, what most people are not told is that all of this spinning, orbiting, and speeding through space have never been proven. Now, I kind of disagree with that, but
Yeah,
what you think?
I have to disagree too, and I have to say, this is easy. I mean, we have AI, we have books, we have teachers that can tell you that the Earth does not spin. And here's the thing, and I want to jump on something real quick. When it comes to religion, people have this finite way of saying there's only one way to travel. There's only one religion. There's only one way to get to heaven. There's only one way to get to hell. There's only one, there's always one. There's only one that is right, and there's not the other ones that are right. So there's always that idea that nobody else is right except I am right, and that is the argument as per se. So when someone makes a comment saying that the earth only travels a certain speed, all you have to do is research and look that the earth doesn't travel only one speed. It's not one trick pony. The earth actually changes speeds at certain seasons as well. That's when what you were talking about, bass fishing and stuff like that. There are certain seasons that you could fish, and the earth stays out actually longer. You have longer seasons, like daylight. You know, you have longer daylight. You have certain portions of the moon. Yeah, there's so many mechanics going on here that we're
Yeah,
talking
I mean,
about. Go
you
ahead.
can just look at the sky though and see that the sun moves from one spot, comes up from one side of the world to the other
Yes,
side. So either
yes.
we're spinning or the sun is
We're
spinning.
doing a terrible job
But
in
what
in,
I'm just
in
saying, what I'm
supporting
just saying,
flat earthers.
there's only two options. Either one, and this is how people thought about it at that time. This is archaic thinking without the
Yeah.
science that we have today. They would see that the sun will rise at one location and basically set at another location, right? And then, but this is
And
where it comes.
the distance of the sun.
Yeah,
The
but that they
sun
would.
obviously gets bigger at certain portions of the year, and then it gets smaller in
Yeah,
other
but what I'm
portions
saying
of the
is you don't
year.
have to go through the whole year to see that. You can just do that in one day. You can see,
Oh,
you can wake up tomorrow
uh-huh. Yeah.
and see that the sun rises up in one location, and then later on it will go away in another location. So either
True.
there's only two
But there
options if you're
there's
the.
there's an explanation for that
But that's what I'm
though.
trying to get to is that there's only two ways to explain that. Either one, the earth is spinning or the sun is spinning. So you have to use other means to determine that. But at
Yeah,
bare
man.
minimum, you know something is moving. Some
I don't
either
know.
you where you're on is moving or the sun is moving. That's how you determine whether, and that's where you start your basic foundation idea of, okay, if I look at the sky and I see the sun comes from one spot to the next spot, it's you know, obviously something is moving. Whether it's us or something else is the determining factor of how do we get that information. That's when you go through that. Okay, how do we figure this out? And right here, it says right here, Samuel Robetham proved the earth was flat. And he says this because, and I'll go into what the whole reason why he says this. And he gives like pictures, like right here, I'll show you um, in the beginning. He gives you pictures like this that shows you, you know, the ideas of why the earth is flat and all this other stuff. But he says right here, he says, if the earth is a globe and is 25,000 English statute miles in circumference, the surface of all standing water must have a certain degree of convexity. Every part must be an arc of a circle from the summit of any such are there will exist a curvature of declination of 8 inches in the first statute mile. In the second mile, the fall would be 32 inches. In the third mile, 72 inches or 6 feet, as shown in the following diagram. And that's when I was just showing you the following diagram. So, me personally, can I tell you I understand that on a scientific level? No, I can't. I honestly can't. Can you? Because I'll tell you what
Neither
I
one
tell.
of us are astronauts. We've
So
never been up there, right?
so you can't either. Is basically what you're saying, right?
I mean,
So
can I prove it? I can prove to you that the Amazon jungles are real because I've been there. I've been with indigenous people. I can tell you that's real because I've been with the indigenous people. So that's not a lie itself. So I've had firsthand experience with indigenous people in South America. So I can speak. But
mm,
as far as being out in space, you know, maybe you got to talk to William Shatner, you know, that would be the
yeah.
person to talk to.
So this is
He
what this
says
was.
he'd been up there.
So this is what I would do. So let's see if this works. And if this doesn't work, then of course I'll just type it in if I need to. But what I would do is let's see if this works first. Test. It's connecting, so it's got to do its thing. Test. Hold up. No, it's not working. Hold on. Let me do something else. So I'm gonna close it out and bring it back up because what I like to do is I like to bring ChatGPT or
Yeah,
Grok
yeah. Bring her on.
into like if I have a question about something, I'm gonna go to one of those sources and be like, hey,
Yeah,
look,
ChatGPT is really, really good at communicating. And do you have that technology? Like,
what's that?
do you have that today? That I've seen it on other streams where people talk to chat. You do have it. Oh, you could talk to Grok.
Yeah.
Can Grok hear you?
I talk to Grok and ChatGPT. I do either one depending on it. If I butcher the words, if it gets it messed up, hopefully it doesn't. If not, if it doesn't work this way because I butcher words sometimes, what I do is I'll take a
Look
picture
at
of
that,
it.
everybody. We are now on the high end of podcasting.
Well, this is what people would
the
do.
expensive end.
People would go to Grok and ChatGPT and ask if it's
Mike
true.
says,
right?
"Woohoo!"
Yeah. So look here. Look. So I'm gonna ask it. Let's see.
We spare no expenses.
Let's see.
Loud and clear.
Okay,
what can I help you with today?
If the Earth is a globe and is 25,000 English statute miles in circumference, the surface of all standing water must have a certain degree of convexity. Every part must be an arc of a circle. From the summit of any such arc, there will exist a curvature or declination of 8 inches in the first statute mile. In the second mile, the fall will be 32 inches. In the third mile, 72 inches or 6 feet, as shown in the following diagram. Tell me if that's true or false.
That's mostly true. For a globe Earth with roughly 25,000 miles circumference, standing water does follow a gentle curve. The rule of thumb, about 8 inches of drop in the first mile, 32 inches in the second, and 72 inches or 6 feet in the third, is a solid approximation for short distances. It comes from basic geometry. The drop grows with the square of the distance. It's not perfectly exact for huge spans, but for everyday scales, it checks out.
So basically saying that says that the Earth is round and not flat, correct?
Yes, exactly. That calculation assumes a round Earth. So if you measured standing water and saw that curvature, it would support the globe. Flat Earth doesn't predict any of that drop.
Okay,
so what if the Earth is flat underneath and then it's rounded on the top, like a chair?
Remember that. Keep that in mind, because I'm gonna give you the answer to that. That's perfect. I'm glad you said that. But he says evidence that the Earth is flat is all around us. For example, if the Earth were round, then the curvature of the Earth would be manifested in a physical landscape. But we do not see any curvature of the Earth. The Earth's circumference is purported to be 24,900 miles at the equator. That means that the horizon should drop from sight at the rate of 8 inches per mile distance squared. Okay, so hold on. Now, this reminds you, this is where he says, it's chapter 1. It says Samuel Rowbotham proved the Earth is flat. Okay, the first thing we just read was that if the Earth was round, this would be the mathematical equation. So let's go ask the chat. Let's see what Grok says on this. So
I feel like this guy is going to sound bad.
Is flat is all around us. For example, if the Earth were round, then the curvature of the Earth would be manifested in a physical landscape, but we do not see any curvature of the Earth. Oh. The Earth's circumference is purported to be 24,900 miles at the equator. That means that the horizon should drop from sight at the rate of 8 inches per mile distance square. This is quoted from Samuel Burley Rowbotham, 1816 to 1884. Tell me if that's accurate or not.
It's partially accurate, but misleading. The 8 inches per mile squared rule is a real, valid approximation. It comes from the math of a sphere and matches what we use today. Rowbotham got that part right. The part that's not accurate is his conclusion. We do see the effects of curvature all the time. Ships disappearing hull first over the horizon, the way the horizon itself drops as you gain altitude, how constellations change as you travel north or south, and even long-distance surveys and laser tests over water all match the globe, not a flat plane. The curve is just very gentle, so you don't notice it with your naked eye on flat ground.
So somebody who understands that, I can tell you right now, I'm 42 years old. My eyes are getting bad.
But wait. Hold on. But you got to mention the moon. You know, the moon pulls water up.
Look, can you prove that?
Yeah, every time the moon comes around, there's high tide.
But is that the moon doing that, or is that something else?
As the moon, the moon.
So why do you believe
not on top of it, but on the other side of the earth?
If you was taught something different, would you believe that?
Well, you know what? For a flat earther, it'd be hard.
No, just answer the question. No. Don't deviate to that, and just answer the question. If you was taught something else and it was presented to you somewhere else, somehow else, would you believe
Maybe.
Okay, see, so that's good. So my point is that we don't have to worry about the moon. We're talking about exactly what this is talking about. This is sticking straight to what this is specifically about. We're not talking about we can look at the moon and see if that is a curvature here on Earth. We can see that the boats disappear in the long distance. We can see what was it? The way the horizon itself drops as you gain altitude. You know, Gerald Hall says right here. Let me see if it comes up. Yeah, it comes up. Hold on. Says, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. So
that's the thing. That's the thing about these governments. I mean, our institutions, our education system. I mean, we're pushed to think that the earth is round. And then you have the religious institutions and our beliefs that the earth is not round. It was never round, you know. When they came out of the Garden of Eden, that wasn't round either, right? So why would I mean, does it say that the earth is round in the religious text, especially in Christianity?
Well, that's what we're going to get into. So there's so many different
Gerald Hall. He's trying to convince me.
do it real quick and just do a Grok question and ask it what is it what does the biblical text, because most people aren't going to read the Bible, so ask it what parts in the Bible. Okay, hold on, I'll do it for you. Hey Grok, tell me what scriptures in the Bible said that the earth is round, and then tell me the ones that say the earth is flat, or just tell me which ones it says in there and just give me the scriptures.
Isaiah 40:22 says the earth is a circle, and Job 26:7 says God hangs the earth on nothing.
Flat.
Those lean toward round. For flat earth verses, people usually point to Revelation 7:1, which talks about four corners of the earth, and 1 Chronicles 16:30, and Psalm 93:1, which say the earth is fixed and immovable. Those are the main ones people argue over.
So you see how you said earlier before we even started, you said I think the earth is flat because of my map right here. That's what they mean by the four corners. Those four corners actually mean four pillars.
You need to put like little angels on each of those little corners on your map.
But most people are going to go to Grok and ChatGPT and ask it those questions, or ask it a question one of those two ways. And it's going to tell you that it's going to give you the idea of round and flat. So how do you decide which one, if you're using the biblical text? How do you decide which one says round and flat? Because just like you said beginning, that
why can't it not be both?
That's what we're going to get into. So we're going to get into. So remember that too. So write those two things down. The first one was I can't even remember the first one. But we'll get into what you're talking about. And that's important because he actually has right here what he calls the statute miles, the distances and what it's supposed to look like. So he tries to use science as a way to back up what he thinks biblically. He says, like in chapter 2, he has visibility of distant objects over water. Okay, so this he says, if in fact the earth were a round ball as is supposed, there is simply no way to explain how lighthouses can be seen from such great distances at sea. Now, I want to stop right there for a second, because when I was talking about my eyes and how old I am, you have glasses. I'm actually waiting to take my eye exam later this month because I need some new glasses because mine are broke. And I know that I can't see as good as I could have when I was in my early 20s. I also know that there's also people who are farsighted and nearsighted, so that the way they see distances will be different no matter what, right? Humans only have a natural way of seeing certain distances for objects. Now, I was in the military. I was in aviation. One of the things that I was taught was how to determine how to look into the sky as far as tell us, see if we have 1 mile visibility or 2 miles visibility and so on and so forth. And for me to explain it to somebody, I wouldn't be able to, because I would have to take you outside and show you to do it. You know what I'm saying? It would just confuse you if I were just to do it like this. So there was ways that, and you was in Air Force, so you should know how to do that too. That's right up your alley. So I know that it explains that when ships go a certain far out in the ocean, in the water, it's either because the Earth is curved and you're starting to see the curve of it, or it's too far away and how far your eyes are able to see things starts to go blurry. Now I have a camera, a Nikon P950. There's also a P9 1000 and P9 1100. The P9 1000 is no longer being sold, and P1100 is now in its place. And the only difference between those two is that they changed the USB-C cord, and that's it. They changed it to the newer version. Nikon camera is a bridge.
Here's one thing I wanted to add was, let's say, for instance, electronics being sold in the United States. The United States gatekeeps certain electronics from coming into the United States, like the DJI gimbal. Like I was telling you before, I wanted to buy that gimbal, but they're not allowing them to bring it into the United States. Not because of flat Earth or any other reason, I guess. I don't know. But there's certain regulations or whatever they have to upkeep. But it also makes me think, what's the conspiracy behind that? Why does the United States have certain regulations and laws?
Well, let's talk about that some other time. We're talking about flat Earth. We ain't talking about that.
Yeah. But I'm saying that.
Well, I had a point.
We have NASA and all these other people, and they're claiming the Earth is round, and then the flat Earthers are like against these institutions that are saying the Earth is round.
Well, that's well, I'm glad you brought that up, but that's the whole point that I was trying to make with this right here, was that you have to understand that this guy believes in it biblically.
Yeah.
Okay? So he believes
completely.
Well, not completely. I'm not going to say completely, because I don't know how much.
That's his religious belief. He grew up with that belief. Yeah.
But he uses science as a way of saying that if this is true, then why is this the other way around? Basically trying to use information against each other. And that's why I said earlier, like, he has his ideas in it, and he has, he says right here, the visibility of distant objects. So he's basically saying, why is a lighthouse able to be seen at a certain distance? And I guess if the Earth was flat or round or whatever, however he wants to argue, it would almost be impossible.
Would it be the reflection of the light?
Exactly. And this is, he puts, it's, when I read this book, it's almost like he's saying, he's putting out information that says this is a round Earth, but then he goes back to his religious beliefs and says that it's flat Earth. And that's why I said the first chapter and the second chapter is exactly what he means by that. Was that, like, here on the next, here he talks about Robothem's, and he says Robothem's calculations and found that Robothem was absolutely correct. Shadewald tried to introduce refraction of light as the explanation for the visibility of the Ryde Pier lighthouse. However, his refraction theory did not explain what was observed regarding the visibility of the lighthouse that should have been below the horizon on spherical Earth. Now, when I say that, so what I'm saying is, if the boat is coming up like this and the lighthouse is below, the lighthouse, when that light can go like this. Anybody that looked at a flashlight, depending on how that flashlight is made, it can be very small, short, and to the direct, like a laser almost, or it can widen out as much as it can. So I didn't really understand his argument with that, and I'm telling you, that somebody who believes,
ask Grok GPT about, or ask Grok about it. Why? What is that argument about the lighthouse, and why do flat earthers think that the lighthouse is a good example?
Okay, let me see. Hey, ChatGPT, Grok, hey, tell me, why do some people who are flat earthers believe the idea of lighthouses being an example that the earth is flat. And this is the reason why. It says, if in fact the earth were round, a round ball, as is supposed, there is simply no way to explain how lighthouses can be seen from such great distances at sea.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
common flat Earth argument. They say if the Earth curves downward 8 inches per mile squared, then after 20 or 30 miles, the lighthouse should be hidden behind the curve. But sometimes they're visible way farther than that. So they claim that proves no curvature exists. The actual explanation is pretty straightforward: atmospheric refraction. Light bends slightly as it passes through air layers of different temperatures, which lets you see a little farther than pure geometry predicts. Plus, many of those impossible sightings are either exaggerated or measured from higher than sea level. The globe model still holds up when you account for those real world factors.
yeah. See, so
That's some demonic magic or something
but
going
see,
through refractions or whatever.
but
What is that? What is that stuff? A flat earther is gonna be like, what is that magic stuff? I mean, what is all that science? They're
but
not
see,
gonna know any of that science.
but this is my thing. This is my thing. Okay, this is my thing. This guy said, if you're an honest man, if you're shown incorrect information, then you should be able to say, okay, I was wrong. But my thing is this: is that, and it's funny that Gerald says, "Trust me, bro, Grok." Right? A lot of people are going to go to Grok and ChatGPT and ask these questions, and they're going to get these types of answers. Now, my question is, as a person who puts in quotation marks, Grok, trust me, bro, can you give me something that explains this theory better? Right?
Carol makes a good point on different parts of the earth. If you travel in certain parts, you can see the shadows in different areas, and you can measure them, and then that will give you an idea if the earth is round and if it's not.
But
If
see,
it's
this is
flat.
the thing. But see, he put in quote, and correct me if I'm wrong, Grok, trust me, bro, as a dismissive thing. Like you can't trust it. I think or that's how some people would look at it. Not me personally, but that's how some people would look at it, because people argue about stuff like that, right? But if we're going to say Grok is not right, ChatGPT is not right, I could say this: hey, Grok, can you give me a source, a peer-reviewed article that just backed up what you just said?
Now we're getting in deep.
One solid peer reviewed paper on this is Below the Horizon: The Physics of Extreme Visual Ranges by Michael Vollmer, published in Applied Optics in 2020. It explains how atmospheric refraction, especially with temperature gradients, lets you see objects like lighthouses well beyond the geometric horizon predicted by Earth's curvature alone. That's exactly what I was talking about.
See, so like what I would do as a person that's trying to uh, get you more information, I'm gonna be like, hey, Grok, ChatGPT, give me a peer-reviewed article on that. And it's going to give me one. And then now I got a peer-reviewed article. Now what can you do after that? How do you prove your information from that point from there? And this is one of the best ways some people would like to say. They'll say, well, this person did this and this person did that, right? So I want to know, what did that person who disbelieves it did themselves? What rabbit hole did you dig, or did you just jump in the rabbit hole that somebody already spent all that time digging, right? Because maybe that rabbit hole that person was digging was the wrong damn rabbit hole to begin with in the first place.
I got a good one for you. Lighthouses have existed for 2,300 years. That's a long time for that technology to even understand how far that light source can travel.
Or just how long it took them to understand how to use it correctly.
Yeah. Probably even longer. Probably even longer. That's as far as they know is
But just think
existed.
about what you said, that long of the determine the best way to use it. So maybe lighthouses started maybe on the bank of the water at one time, and it was like, well, that's not good enough. Maybe we need to build something much more into the water.
Well, the Chinese use like fire pits, so they use it along the edges of
Yeah. That's why Christopher Columbus thought that he found the new land. It wasn't because of aliens. It was because he thought he found new land, because that's what they thought on that side of the world was. They used fire pits almost to identify the banks of the lake.
Massive, huge,
Yep.
where they burn large fires, and then they just you could see the edge where the water is and everything. So
Yep.
so that's like a makeshift lighthouse, but that's on the ground, or not even that. You could put it like higher up. Like if you go to Boston, you could see the cliffs in Boston. Boston is high up, by the way. If you're
So right now, all we've been given was information that the Earth is round so far, right? Based off of just reading what this guy has been sharing, right? Like if I was somebody who believed in a round Earth and I was reading this dude's book, I'd be like, damn, bro, first 3 damn paragraphs, that's accurate. So I believe in the Earth is round, right?
True.
So let me give you. So what's the point of reading your thousands of pages after that? If you're just telling me, and that's what I'm saying is that he gives information that it's round, that is backing it up, or either maybe it's just the way he worded it, and maybe he should have got somebody to do it for him. But the way I read it is that he's sharing that the information he's sharing is round, but then it's not. And I'll give you an example. Here we go. Here's the next tab. It says right here, hey Grok, just check this out. According to Edward Hendry, The Greatest Lie on Earth, Proof That Our World is Not a Moving Globe. In his book, he says, assuming the Earth is a sphere, there should be a measurable angle of curvature of 1 arc minute per nautical mile. That means that there should be 0.02 degrees of a curvature over a length of 7,311 feet. In order to obtain the angle of curvature, we must multiply Kozlowski's average zenith angle by 2. When doing that, we come up with 0.018 degrees angle of curvature. That is very close to be expected 0.02 degrees. If the Earth were a globe, does that mean the Earth is a globe? No, it does not. What Kozlowski was detecting and measuring was a combination of theodolite lens refraction and atmospheric refraction. Cooper River Lake is not convex. Indeed, no body of water on Earth is convex. Tell me what I just said is accurate or incorrect.
Here we go, everybody.
That's mostly incorrect. Jesse Kozlowski is actually a surveyor who has done multiple experiments, including on Cooper River Lake, and he concludes the opposite. His measurements show the expected curvature of a globe Earth. Hendry is misrepresenting Kozlowski's work. The 1 arc minute per nautical mile is a correct rule of thumb for curvature on a globe, but claiming refraction and lens effects explain away the measured curvature while insisting no body of water is convex doesn't hold up. Professional surveying, GPS, and laser experiments consistently confirm water surfaces follow the globe's curve. Hendry's book cherry picks and misinterprets the data.
See, so reading this man's book, he's saying if this is this and if this is that, then the Earth is flat or the Earth is round. So far, all we've been given was the information that the Earth is round so far. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is
he's winning that honorary hat, that's for sure. He's getting there. I mean, I'm trying not to make fun of him, but it's everything that he mentions is more geared towards trying to gain a bunch of believers that the Earth is flat, and he's pushing he pushes facts, right? But then he makes those facts.
Oh, you gotta put that tinfoil hat back on while we got this up. Anytime somebody says tinfoil hat time from now on, that Jesus has to put that hat on and leave it on. No, but seriously, it's funny. He's giving out this information as saying that, you know, if you believe this is wrong. Like it's almost crazy. You know what I mean? It's almost to the point where we want to believe something, but perfect example. This is a perfect example. If you let a man talk long enough, he usually reveals his own ignorance eventually. And that's what he basically did. He didn't even get past
wa-
chapter 1 before he did that. But
I wanted to bring up something psychological, and
but before you say that, these are things that people who believe in flat earth, this is some of the sources that they gave me. What I mean by that is I used to be in a lot of spaces with flat earth while I was reading this book. Like people don't understand is I join spaces based off of, and even Clubhouse, I join them and listen to them while I'm reading a book. And when somebody says strikes what's interesting that I'm reading, I mark it. So a lot of these marks come from people who are genuine people who talk about this, from Reddit to Facebook to
X. They genuinely believe this stuff, huh?
Yeah, they genuinely believe this stuff. But what the evidence that they're using, if they tell me to go look it up, I go to ChatGPT and Grok and ask it this information. This is the information that I'm getting. So now, how am I wrong? Can you give me any information that says what you said that is facts? Because you told me to go look for it. I just found a peer-reviewed article that says this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Grok, ChatGPT, or AI is accurate, but you can actually ask it for sources. You can say, give me a source for this. Now you got to read these sources. So how do you combat? So look, the next tab that's on here, it says, hey, look, Grok, Hendry says this in his book. He says, refraction of light is caused by the gradient of warm, moist air in the boundary layer of the atmosphere. A consequence of the warm, moist air is that it causes a lensing effect of the atmosphere. This effect magnifies distant objects and causes the bottoms of those distant objects to be cut off from view. Many misinterpret the missing bottoms of buildings and ships to be caused by the Earth's curvature, not realizing it is due to the lensing effect of the atmosphere. The proof that the missing bottoms are due to the atmospheric lensing effect is in the fact that often the object observed should not be able to be seen at all if the Earth were a globe, as it should be completely below the supposedly curved horizon. Fact check that. There we go. I got to come up with a
That
thing
claim
for
is
that.
incorrect. Hendry gets the refraction part backwards. Normal atmospheric refraction bends light downward, letting you see slightly farther over the curve than geometry alone predicts. It doesn't create a lensing effect that hides bottoms of objects while showing the tops when they should be completely hidden. Ships disappearing hull first is exactly what curvature predicts, and it's consistent across thousands of observations. The Chicago skyline photos from 60 miles away that flat earthers love, they actually show the bottoms of the buildings hidden, matching globe math when you account for the observer's height and refraction. Those cases don't prove flat Earth, they support the globe.
See? So now I would have to ask this Henry dude, like, yo, why do you believe what you believe? Like, and what he does is he does give people sources, right? But he also gives sources that's back in 1800 when they didn't have the technology we had today, right? You know what I'm saying? So using something that was available in the 1800s versus what we have in 2026, you can't use that old information. I mean, it's a good starting point. It's where we at. Point in cases when I said that as an archaic hunter-gatherer, animal, human, just sitting on plains looking for some nuts and berries and trying to get me some deer or a cow or something like that. And I'm hunting and whatnot. And all I got to do is see the sun come up from one side and land on the other side. But that just tells me something is moving, whether it's us or something outside of us is moving, right? So that gives us an idea. And that's why I say for him, you know, so far, when I read his book, I was like, yo, I'm not even in 100 pages. I'm not even 10 pages in. And all I've read was that the idea of Earth is round based off the evidence that he shared so far. Not what I shared, but what he shared, right? So what's this right here?
Well, this is the conspiracy theory as individuals and group behavior observations from the Flat Earth International Conference. They actually have international conferences where people get together, large amounts of people get together that believe in the same thing. And here we have everybody that come to our podcast They know that the earth is round. But there are a great number of people that truly believe, and they spend money traveling around the earth, get that, and by plane, right? And they travel to this location to the Flat Earth International Conference so that they can have a conversation on the conspiracy theory on how the earth is flat, how the earth, or that the information that we live in a simulation. That's another thing that we're probably going to do a podcast on, by the way, everybody. We're going to hit upon. We don't have time to go over that, but the whole idea, there's a whole combination of ideas. The conspiratorial thinking has been with humanity for a long time, but has recently grown as a source of societal concern and as a subject of research in the cognitive and social sciences. We propose, this is a peer review, by the way. There's peer reviews on Flat Earth, by the way.
So what is it saying? What is that peer review article saying? Is it flat or round?
The cognitive process, we identify explanatory coherence and faulty belief, updating as critical idea. They're talking about the conspiracy theories at the level of community and knowledge, and we explore how conspiracy communities facilitate false belief by promoting contagious knowledge. We explore how conspiracy communities facilitate false beliefs by promoting a sense of understanding, and how community norms catalyze the biased assimilation of evidence. We review recent research on conspiracy theories and explain how conspiratorial thinking emerges from the interaction of individuals and group processes. So basically, this is about how people share knowledge about flat Earth and how it spreads. That's what the peer review is all about. Is how it spreads, and how it spreads wide and long through.
But from your understanding, is it saying that the Earth is flat or round?
These people believe it's flat.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is a peer-reviewed article saying that the Earth is flat.
No, they're not saying it's flat or not. They're talking about the conspiracy.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I wanted to make sure that the audience understands that when you say peer-reviewed article, this is not a peer-reviewed article saying
this is about the psychological effects or the mental effects of how flat Earth has come to be. Why we have this podcast in the first place. How the spread of flat Earth is contagious, how it's getting around, how anything could be contagious, really, and tell you the truth. And if you believe it's fake or false, how this can be possibly how much of false news or fake news or even real news is passed along in such a large format. This peer review talks about that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, is that we already have a peer-reviewed article. Matter of fact,
I think there's many of them. We just not going to be able to hit on all of them.
Grok, tell me the peer-reviewed articles for flat Earth and round Earth. I really got to get me something.
There are no peer-reviewed scientific articles supporting the flat Earth model. None. All the papers that mention it treat it as a conspiracy theory, a teaching tool for critical thinking, or something to debunk. For the round Earth, there are tons of peer-reviewed papers on curvature, refraction, and visibility. One good example is Michael Vollmer's Below the Horizon, The Physics of Extreme Visual Ranges in Applied Optics, 2020. It explains how refraction works with Earth's curvature, exactly the stuff we were talking about with lighthouses.
So that's twice right now that we've heard that name. So everybody that wants to understand, that's a flat earther right now. If you believe in flat Earth, if you haven't read Michael Vollmer's Below the Horizon peer-reviewed article, then you're only believing in what you want to believe. There are peer-reviewed articles out there. Now, I understand people will say this because I was just talking about this earlier in this space. Peer-reviewed articles are just people who are a group of people who either agree or disagree with you. And there's a committee that determines whether your article gets put in this as a peer review or not. I actually have a peer-reviewed article. It's on my book, Journey Through the Origins of History. I did a podcast discussion with Dr. Keith Chang, founder of SLC 2485. And he actually reviewed one of my books. But this is something that's very interesting to me. Gravity has always been a hot topic for a lot of people. It has a lot to do with aging, or it has to do with keeping things on the ground. And it's an argument whether gravity is real or not, which I don't understand how, because if I pick up this meteorito that I have right here and just let go of it,
Yeah,
it's going
drop
to
it.
fall.
Let's
It's
see.
going, yeah, it's
Prove
just
it.
going to fall. You
Prove
know what
it.
I'm saying? So I ain't even got to prove that. I already know, right? Whatever you want to call
We don't
gravity,
believe you. We
whatever
don't
you want to,
believe you.
whatever you want to call that item falling down because it can't sustain itself up in the sky, whatever you want to call it, gravity or
Gerald.
teleportation or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because you know, people would say, you know, is how do you prove gravity? And I'm like, yo, just pick something up and see if it falls. You know what I'm saying? If it falls, that's gravity. I mean, what else do you want from
His
that?
wife will make him clean it. That's pretty much what is gonna happen.
So, but this is what this dude says in his book. He says there is no such thing as gravity. Hold up, wait a minute. Let's get Grok involved.
I mean,
Yo,
it's
Grok,
Newton's
so
law.
look, hey Grok, check this out. This is what this is what Edward Hendry says from that book that I was just telling you about. There is no such thing as gravity. Gravity is not necessary on a flat earth. It is density that keeps objects from floating off the surface of the earth. People and objects are heavier than the air and therefore do not float off the ground. Gravity does not exist. You know, explain to me how either that's accurate that he said or just misleading and confusing. I got to get something for that. I got to get something.
It's misleading and incorrect. Hendry's claim is a common flat Earth talking point, but it falls apart fast. Density tells you how heavy something is for its size, but it's not a force. It can't make anything move or fall by itself. Buoyancy, why things float or sink in air or water, actually depends on gravity to work. Without gravity, nothing would have weight, air wouldn't press down, and objects would just float aimlessly. Gravity is what pulls everything toward the center of the Earth, and density plus buoyancy are just effects of that pull in fluids. Saying density replaces gravity is like saying the reason cars move is fuel without explaining the engine.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
but,
or the fumes, you know. Yeah.
or going downhill. or let's
there
let's
are
forget all
certain
that.
things that are
Forget
heavy.
that. Forget that. The Flintstones, man. You better put the foot to the metal.
But that's
You
a
know,
cartoon. Don't even bring that up. Come on now.
but no, the idea is that you can moving something can be explained multiple different ways, but
Yeah,
it's a
that's true.
force. It's a force that moves it. You know.
I mean, that we're talking about the mechanics of flat Earth. So, is flat Earth? So we got to understand flat Earth. Period. Is flat Earth moving or stationary? That's the question we have to ask a flat earther. That if they believe in flat Earth, is flat Earth actually moving around, or is it just completely stationary and all of the universe is moving around it, like the paper moon, the paper Saturn, paper Jupiter, everything's paper. You know, it's like what was that with Jim Carrey? What you remember that where they made a whole set for him growing up as a baby? That one movie. Do you remember that?
oh shit, I can't remember anymore.
Not Man on the Moon. It's another one. That was a comedy one. But do you guys remember, Mike?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They did a whole movie. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they created this whole world on a set, and the sun would travel across, would travel around. And I think they made that movie just to make fun of flat earthers. Yeah, the Truman Show. Thank you, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys joining in and helping us out and finding some names there.
So
truly, without you guys supporting us, we can't do this without you.
So we already talked about the biblical text and what it says as far as, you know, the earth being round and flat, and it actually gave scriptures for both, right? So, but the Sumerians, what I've learned about the Sumerians, when I always talk about the Sumerians, is because a lot of people say that they're the first civilization because of their writing system, which I've already talked about how that is not all the way true. It just depends on what you consider civilization. But anyway, just saying that. The Sumerians, according to Samuel Noah Kramer, felt like the Sumerians said that it was a dome, like a dome, basically. He used the word dome.
Why did they come up with the idea of a dome? Does that not come from like a 3,000-year-old idea?
Well, it's because what people understood as far as, when you look on the ground, you see hard soil and ground. When you look in
Yeah.
the sky, you see nothing but openness.
Yeah, it's
Right.
kind of roundish on
Yeah.
the top.
Yeah. So that's what people would say. And the Egyptians had their with the Egyptians, it was different depending on where you was at. Because everybody had their own city state, just like the Sumerians. But
If you dig underground, if you go too far, where are you going to end up? In hell.
knows.
No, but they believe you end up dropping into hell. So it's forbidden to dig. Is this what this people believe?
No.
If you go too far.
What I did was I wanted to look up what a dome was. So I have this book right here.
What's the belief?
I have this book right here that I was showing y'all earlier, the Dictionary of Symbols, and I use this book a lot now since I've had it, about the meaning of certain words and what they meant, from ancient times and today. And it's actually a definition for a lot of different words for different things, and it has the word dome in here. So I'm going to read what it says for dome, because that's what the Sumerians thought, and a lot of people still believe a dome-like idea. So this is what it's.
Knight's Court says it's an abyss, a bottomless pit.
Yeah, that's part of the dome-like idea. So the dome is universally regarded as a representation of the vault of heaven, and thus a domed building is an image of the world. The dome is commonly set upon 4 pillars, which you was talking about with the 4 points, and people say, flat Earth. And that's when I was saying that that they were pillars, but set upon 4 pillars or upon structure with a square ground plan. This relates directly to the Chinese symbolism of the sky as covering and the earth as supporting, while the sky is seen as round and the earth as square. So when you was talking about earlier, just a few minutes ago, about the ideas, can they be round and square, or table or chairs, and what you was talking about like that? That's in Chinese symbolism. And I'll repeat what it says. It says, this relates directly to the Chinese symbolism of the sky as covering and the earth as supporting, while the sky is seen as round and the earth as square. So a lot of people, when I hear some people who say, well, 2 things can be true at the same time, it can be round and flat. Well, that's what I go back and think of when I have to know.
It's a puffed up pillow.
But my point is that's the source. I know that in Chinese symbolism, that's an idea. That's literally an idea. I don't have to argue that. So when we use ancient texts, I know in Chinese symbolism that they believe in round and square at the same time. So 2 things can be true at the same time. It's just what you feel better. This is literally.
I mean, it could be true, but is it believable? I mean, can you prove it?
Well, that's what we're going to get into. Dolmens, Mycenaean tombs, and the many rock temples from India to Korea possess this generalized significance of representing the cosmic dome. The Montagnards of southern Vietnam see the sky as a hemispherical basket set upon a flat circular disc. That's the idea where you get from different mythologies and symbols from around the world, where you get the round idea and the flat idea. I'm going to say it again. It literally says, the Montagnards of southern Vietnam see the sky as a hemispheric basket set upon a flat creator disc. Okay, disc. So you got this surely is.
So why a creator disc? That's I'm interested. Ask Grok. Why the existence? Why in history did ancient people believe that there was a creator disc? I would ask Grok that.
Well, I'm about to get into it, because that's right here. This surely is very similar to the Chinese image of the tortoise. So it just answers your question right there.
Wow.
This surely is very similar to the Chinese image of the tortoise, the symbolism of the rounded upper and the flat under shells being exactly the same. The Egyptians depicted the sky as the goddess Nut, supporting herself on fingers and toes with her body art. Byzantine domes, Buddhist stupas, and Muslim Kaaba all possess the same quality. So you know about when the Native Americans said
Yeah.
that this is when they say that the turtle is the creator of the earth or the world. Basically, that's where it comes from.
I could get on board with that if I believe in turtles and worship them. Yeah. I mean, if that was a thing.
It's not about believing in him and worshiping him. As the depiction, the round top of the turtle shell and the flat bottom. That's the
I've seen
earliest
pictures of people drawing like a castle on top of a turtle.
Well, that's what it's because it's saying that's the depiction of it. It's saying that this is not a belief in these turtles or for per se. It's saying, hey, this is the pictographic script that we can show that's a representation of how the earth looks. So in reality, these people were say that, hey, the earth is flat or round and flat because of this representation, this depiction. Okay. And that's why I say right here, it also says when the prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven, he describes it as a mother of pearl dome supported by 4 pillars. The dome is the universal spirit enveloping the world, and pillars are the 4 corners of the cosmic cube. So a cube looks flat on its sides. So that's why I say, for me,
even in Muslim religions, they believe in that idea as well.
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that for people, they people need to understand that
it's not just Christian, it's Muslim as well. And now we got a larger group of people around the world. Yeah. We're just coming together, you know? We got a connection now. Flat Earth is now the connection to bring all religions together. I mean, you know, you could be all for that. No more wars. Let's all believe in flat Earth.
No, but that goes to the idea. If we're going to use biblical text, then why not use the ancient text itself for what we say? You know what I mean?
We'll still fight about something though. That's for sure.
No, I don't do the fighting and argument for.
No, I'm saying religions around the world. They fight against each other for religious. Like their religion is better than the other religion for some apparent reason. Their religion is the religion, you know, kind of thing.
So here's the next tab. He says water always seeks its own level. So this is what he says. So we're going to go with Grok and Grok on this because this is going to be interesting. So Grok, he also says water always seeks its own level because water is always level. Water cannot be anything but perfectly flat. There is never any convexity to water as would be required by a globular earth. All oceans, seas, lakes are perfectly level. Indeed, we use the term water level to denote
the status right, of everybody.
And level water. The very terms we use are based upon water always being flat and level across its length. And
the only thing I ever seen around are bubbles. Bubbles.
That's false. Water does seek its own level, but on a globe level means following the curve of gravity, not a flat plane. We can measure this directly. Long canals, laser tests over lakes, and precise surveying all show water surfaces curve downward exactly as predicted for a globe. The phrase water level doesn't mean perfectly flat like a table. It means it follows the direction of gravity, which curves on a sphere. If oceans were perfectly flat, ships couldn't disappear hull first over the horizon, and distant lighthouses would be visible when they clearly aren't.
So let's go back to what you said earlier about the moon. If you want to implement the moon into these factual ideas, then you will see that, okay, when the sun and the moon moves away from the earth and you don't see or if you see the moon on the opposite of the world, why isn't the water drowning on the other side?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't even be on the opposite. It would be like a little bit over, because if the earth, okay, so if the moon is right here, the bulge will come out towards the moon. So wherever the moon is going, the bulge of the earth will be towards the moon. It'll bulge out on the other end as well. So our earth is never, ever perfectly round. It's always oval shape, never perfectly round. Without the moon, yes, our earth would be perfectly round all the time. Well, because of the moon, there's a pull, and then we have the rising tide and the lowering of tides on the sides. So
Mm.
the question is, do on those sides where there's low tide, does the Earth experience a flatness or more of a flatness and not
So
so much of a
look it up real
roundness?
quick. Type that in while I do this. Look
Oh,
that
oh
up and
my
get that
gosh,
answer.
that's
Yeah, I tell
that's
you,
so
man,
much
when
to
you come
ask.
up with questions, bro, you got to make sure you have answers for them, bro, on the spot, man. You can't be leaving people up in the wind asking us questions and expect
I'm hoping
we supposed
I'm
we
hoping my team
nah,
of spectators
you
will come up with answers for
nah,
me.
you ask a question, brother. You got to answer that, man. You can't leave people up in the wind on it. That's why I say,
I don't
man,
want
hey,
them to be stagnant. I don't want our listeners to be stagnant. I want them to look too.
well, hey, that's not their job, bro. That's not that they come in here to they want answers. You see that? We want the answers.
Put you
You
in
got the
timeout,
question,
real.
bring the
Jesus.
answers. So here's the next tab that he says.
Trying to get you involved.
He says chapter 7, the earth is flatter than a pancake. And he says, of course, land with its mountains and valleys is not perfectly level as is water. However, when large expansive areas of land are considered, it can be determined that land is not convex as would be expected on a spherical earth. Land is generally flat. Scientific research proves that fact. For example, Mark Fonstad, PhD, William Puktak, and Brandon Vaught, PhD, used data from the United States Geological Survey to determine that on scale, the state of Kansas is literally flatter than a pancake. On a scale where 1 is perfectly flat, the geographers used a confocal laser to determine that a pancake had measured flatness of 0.957. The state of Kansas was sealed down using a 250,000 scale digital elevation model, DEM. Kansas was found to have a measurable flatness of 0.9997. I got to get something for that. I really don't
The
think.
numbers he quoted are accurate, but his conclusion is completely misleading. Yes, that 2003 paper from the Annals of Improbable Research really does say Kansas is flatter than a pancake, 0.9997 versus 0.957 on their scale. It was a fun, tongue in cheek study, but here's the catch: they measured tiny local variations in the land, not the overall curve of the Earth. On a globe the size of Earth, the curvature over a few hundred miles is very gentle, only about 2 to 3 feet of drop per mile at Kansas's latitude. That tiny curve is so small compared to the natural bumps in the land that the pancake study simply doesn't detect it. The paper was never meant to prove the Earth is flat. Hendry is taking a joke paper about local flatness and pretending it disproves the globe. It doesn't.
See, that's something that I actually caught on reading when I read this book years ago. I was like, yo, he's picking something to say, yo, see, the earth is flat because this one location. Yo, you talking about one location out of the whole damn planet of saying, hey, this is the reason why. So when he came up with this chapter and he started off with this, I'm going to tell you as a personal person that it hasn't even told you what I believe how the shape of the earth is yet. I really find it kind of funny that he started off with this. It's like he always starts off with like, yo, the earth is round, but the earth is flatter because this, that, and the third, and because of my beliefs. And I'm just like, yo, bro, do you even, it's almost like a split personality. It's almost like I'm watching that movie with that dude where he played Patricia. You remember Breakable or something like that? No, I was in class, something like that. I can't remember, but the dude that ran around and said, I'm Patricia or something like that. Yeah, so I think this dude has two personalities. Like it's almost like he wants to believe in round earth, but then he brings up facts of how it is round, but then says, yo, it's actually flat. So let's see, the next tab that we're going to go over is, he says, let's see, here we go. Let's see, let's get rocking. So the next tab that he talks about is, he says, the reality to which the TGF software is faithful is that the earth is stationary and flat. If the TGF simulator based its model on the false premise of a globular spinning earth, it would create a safety issue for aircraft. The FAA simply had to assume a flat earth because that is reality. If the FAA had assumed a spinning spherical Earth model, the pilots and the air traffic controllers would be trained improperly and create the messy and embarrassing result of planes crashing with regularity. Fact check that.
Go on the bulge
That's
of the Earth.
completely false. The FAA absolutely does not assume a flat, stationary Earth. Their entire navigation system is built on a spherical Earth model. GPS, Great Circle routes, inertial navigation systems, and even how they calculate flight distances all account for Earth's curvature and rotation. The TGF software claim is a myth that's been circulating in flat Earth circles for years. It's simply not true. If planes were trained on a flat Earth model, long-distance flights would be massively off course and fuel calculations would be wrong. Aircraft navigation works perfectly on the globe model. That's why planes reach their destinations accurately every single day.
So here's the next tab. So this is the next tab. It says every commercial and military aircraft has on board an instrument that can only work on flat Earth. This is where it got all the people stirred up. That was in that one.
When you were talking to them on X, man, they were just blowing up on you. Are they even here? Are you guys here? Jesus Christ!
That's also false. He's probably talking about the attitude.
Hold on, let me.
He's listening to you, Grok.
Yeah, hold up. So look, so I gotta say this.
Mad.
So
Grok is out of control right now.
Yeah, because this is crazy. Because this is the one that stirred up the pot for everybody. So this is what it says. This is what I said. And I only stick to what the book says. I don't go into arguments. And I was trying to tell everybody I was going to do a podcast like this on 7. And I can tell you right now, everything in this book right now, this book right here that we're going over, The Greatest Lie on Earth. I can tell you, it's funny that so many people believe that I believe one thing and I never even showed them what I believed in from the get-go. Never even said, hey, this is the facts or this is what I believe in. So this is actually the one thing from this book that got people stirred up. It says every commercial and military aircraft has on board instrument that can only work on flat Earth. Okay, that's what he starts off with, right? This is from this book right here. So now I'm about to bring back ChatGPT because I want ChatGPT to
you had people twisted up with all that.
Man,
you didn't even tell them that that's what you believed in. They already jumped on you.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
So I wanted to mention, yes, the areas experiencing low tide do technically become flatter because the water level drops and the curve of the ocean bed is slightly compressed. However, this flattening is far too small for you to see with your own eyes. And low tide actually decreases how far you can see rather than letting you see farther. I was hoping that you could see further by if the bulge isn't noticeable. So that way, we're giving a chance for the flat earthers to have a reason why the earth is flat. So, right, but I'm trying to find every excuse why a flat earther is experiencing the earth is flat. So hopefully I found the answer, but it seems like I'm not. It's just a microscopic amount. And as you can see in the picture right here, the high tide and low tide, you can see the sun and you can see the moon. It pulls on both ends. And this is gravity, guys. The pull. You got the spring tide is caused when the pull of the moon and the sun act on the same line during a full moon and a new moon. High tides are higher than usual and low tides are lower. So it depends on where the moon and the sun is located. And then you're going to have that neap tide. It's going to be where the moon is off to the side. And then the sun is going to be on a certain location. This is completely interesting. When I took oceanography back in high school and in college, this was the most fascinating thing. I've done diving and all that stuff and off into the ocean because I'm a coastal baby. So I grew up along the coast and oceanography was just the best science to study. And you learn about all these things, high tide, low tide, and all that stuff.
But see,
this is just fascinating.
And I'll get into this book also called The Almagest in a minute.
You can see what low tides and high tides bring about.
Yeah,
and then in the distance, it looks the same. In this picture,
I can tell you right now. I live in coastal Georgia. I know exactly how high tide and low tide affects us a lot.
And here, I'll zoom in. Oh, well, I can't zoom in that much, but I'll zoom in a little bit, and you can see that the distance is the same.
Yeah.
You can see it's like in the far distance, the curvature of the Earth is at the same level, even though there's low tide right here. It doesn't change the height of the distances. So there you go. I mean,
Yeah, so
maybe it's flat in that area, but at a certain distance, I guess.
here, so all right, so Grok, according to Edward Hendry, the greatest lie on earth, proof that our world is not a moving globe. He says, okay, that look, hold on, let me see something. Hold up. I gotta share screen. I want to share screen. Hold up.
But did they fly into space, Gerald?
Conspiracy, pushing biblical
Okay, so here
literalism
we go.
and claiming experience.
Let's stop. Let's go ahead and stop her. So okay, according to the book, let's see if it can hear me. Test. Let's see.
Test. I'm hearing you loud
All
and
right,
clear.
cool,
What's up?
cool. So, according to Edward Hendry in his book, he says every commercial and military aircraft has on board an instrument that can only work on flat Earth. That instrument is the attitude indicator, which is also known as an artificial horizon. The artificial horizon instrument has a display that shows the pilot the attitude of the plane to the actual horizon, even if he cannot see the horizon because it is obscured by inclement weather or darkness. The pilot can determine the role of the aircraft if he is flying level, and the pitch of the aircraft if the nose of the aircraft is pointed below or above the horizon. That attitude indicator works by means of a spinning gyroscope mounted on a gimbal. Fact check that. I'm really going to get something for that. I'm going to look tonight for that time.
The book you're talking about is Edward Hendry's The Greatest Lie on Earth. He does make that exact claim about the attitude indicator proving a flat Earth. Fact check. The description of how the instrument works is basically right. It's a spinning gyro on gimbals that stays rigid in space to show the plane's pitch and roll relative to the horizon. But the conclusion is wrong. Attitude indicators have a built-in self-correcting mechanism, usually pendulous vanes or a similar gravity-based erection system, that gently torques the gyro back toward the local vertical over a couple of minutes. That keeps it aligned with gravity even as the plane follows Earth's curve, so it works fine on a round Earth. The argument only holds if you ignore that correction system.
So if you ignore that. So this is this type of stuff that he says in his book. So the next thing he says in his book, the next tab says,
and I'm sharing a screen right now that
has
shows
come up with
shows the
all
instrument.
sorts of convoluted theories to explain such long distance radio transmissions because they cannot allow it to be known that the Earth is flat. The most prevalent theory is the ionosphere bounce theory. Under that, the mythology radio operators can talk to people on the other side of the supposed spherical Earth, not because the Earth is flat, but because their radio signal bounces off the thin upper atmosphere called the ionosphere. Fact check that.
The ionosphere bounce theory is real and well tested, not a convoluted myth invented to hide a flat Earth. It's called skywave propagation. Radio waves in the HF band, 3 to 30 megahertz, get refracted or reflected by the ionosphere, a layer of charged particles 50 to 600 miles up, and come back down hundreds or thousands of miles away. This has been observed, measured, and used reliably since the 1920s for long-distance communication, long before any globe denial movement. Hendry's framing makes it sound like scientists scrambled for an excuse, but the ionosphere was discovered because people noticed radio signals traveling way beyond the horizon. It's basic radio engineering, not conspiracy.
That's actually something that I learned when I was a little kid about how radio waves work, is that they actually found that because of how people finding radio waves from certain distances. We're not even halfway through this book and we got like 30 minutes left. So I'm gonna push through these rest of these tabs.
Yeah, I was just showing about what you were just saying with the gyroscope, artificial horizon and Earth's curvature.
Hold on, let me remove this. What about it?
And then an
What
artificial
source is it?
horizon.
Talk about the source. Talk about the source first. Where you get it
Yeah.
from? Where's from? Who's-
FlatEarth.ws, debunking flat Earth misconceptions, artificial horizons, and Earth's curvature. That's basically where I get it from.
So this is a globe Earth conspiracy versus the flat Earth conspiracy. Okay, yeah. So yeah,
And
that's
then
what
they,
that would make
and then the
sense.
flat earthers talk about it, artificial horizons and Earth's curvature, and they talk about the altitude control that you just talking about. An artificial horizon or altitude indicator is a flight instrument that indicates the aircraft's orientation relative to Earth's horizon, just what you were just talking about. Flat earthers claim that an artificial horizon should drift over time if the airplane is flying over the spherical Earth, because the gyroscope will eventually drift and no longer points towards the Earth's center. In reality, an artificial horizon has a self-correcting mechanism, keeping the gyroscope upright if it is displaced for any reason, including by the aircraft's motion following Earth's curvature.
Yeah. So yeah. That's why I was saying, like, people, you're going to have one side or other, but most people are going to ask. Nobody's going to have a scientific background on this except the people who are really behind it, and just normal people like us. We just have to take what we can for our research. So, of course, Grok, this is the next tab he talks about. He says the evidence of a flat Earth is easy to discern once a person perceives what he is seeing around him. The horizon is always seen to be flat over water. That proves that Earth is itself flat. Otherwise, the horizon would be bowed by Charles Barrow, who explains it. Fact check that.
The horizon over water really does look perfectly flat to our eyes. That's true. But that's not evidence the Earth is flat.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth's curve is very gentle, only about 8 inches per mile squared. From eye level, even on the ocean, you need to be looking at something about 3 miles away just to notice the drop. From a boat deck, the horizon is only about 3 miles out. At that distance, the curve is tiny, about 6 or 7 feet, and it's spread across your whole field of view, so it looks dead flat. That's why sailors for centuries used tools like the sextant and calculated curvature mathematically instead of relying on what their eyes told them. The flat appearance is exactly what you'd expect on a huge sphere, not proof it's flat.
Hey, so I got this message, Grok. It says, bro, look up the TRC 170 fully analog long range radio U.S. Marine Corps uses in case of nuke war. We bounce the signal off the ionosphere. All the map works off a round Earth. We couldn't talk to bases if flat Earth. Verify that information. You about to beat a man, yo.
It's mostly accurate, but with 2 important corrections. The ANTRC 170 is real. It's a U.S. military tropospheric scatter radio system the Marines have used since the 1980s for beyond line of sight comms, including in scenarios like nuclear war. It can reach about 100 to 150 miles. However, it doesn't bounce signals off the ionosphere. It uses troposcatter, scattering signals off the troposphere, the lower part of the atmosphere. That's different from the HF Skywave ionosphere bounce we talked about earlier. The claim that all the map works off around Earth is spot on. Troposcatter planning explicitly accounts for Earth's curvature because the system is designed to shoot signals just over the geometric horizon created by a round planet. On a flat Earth, this setup wouldn't be necessary.
See, there you go. So we there you go. See, I like that. See, my bad, Troposphere. So we know at bare minimum, Gerald Hall is a man. I hope so, if I'm not disrespecting.
Right.
But you made a correction, and that's all that matters. You know, a lot of people don't know how to make corrections. So I'm going to show you something in this book that the dude does, which throws me off even more. So he says right here, this is an imperfect example of why the Earth is flat, because this picture right here was a picture. Let me see. It's a figure. I'll read it in a second, but he says that you can see that it's completely flat because he's showing that part right there, right? Like it's completely flat. That's why he's saying. And he says this is a picture of the first photograph taken from the scientist crawl space at an altitude of 65 miles, 343,200 feet on October of 24th,
Did
1946.
did he launch his own self rocket and took a picture?
Oh, so
up there?
this is the picture from. That's what I'm saying. This is the first picture taken from the scientist called Space at an altitude of 65 miles, 343,200 feet on October 24th, 1946. And what he's saying is this picture shows that the Earth is flat because they took a picture of part of the Earth of it's flat. So
Where's the firmament though?
Forget the firmament. Why don't you just have the whole picture of the Earth? Why didn't you just put the whole picture of Earth? I mean,
how about the 360 camera? I want a 360 camera of the Earth. I mean, we got 360 cameras now. Now launch it again and do a 360 camera and show me the whole thing.
Yeah. So here's the next tab. This is what he says. He says the National Geographic. This is what he says from his book, Grok. The National Geographic is just one of many examples of massive deception. The Earth is supposed to be spinning at approximately 1,000 miles per hour at the equator because the circumference of a ball is smaller north and south of the equator. The Earth does not spin at as great a speed at higher and lower latitudes. Portland, Oregon is about 45 degrees north latitude from the equator, and the purported spin of the Earth is at the latitude is approximately 700 miles per hour. Portland, Maine is at 44 degrees north latitude with the spin of the Earth only a tiny bit faster than 700 miles per hour. The Coriolis effect is supposed to put the airplane in New York if the pilot simply tried to fly the airplane straight and level toward Portland, Maine. That is simply not true. The pilot sets his heading toward Portland, Maine and accounts only for wind conditions. The pilot makes no accommodation whatsoever for a Coriolis effect because the Earth is not spinning. There is no Coriolis effect to calculate. Fact check that. I really need to get something for a while. I was doing fact checking, fact checking.
The rotational speeds are correct. At the equator, it's about 1,040 miles per hour. And at around 45 degrees north, like Portland, it's roughly 735 miles per hour. That part checks out. The Coriolis claim is misleading. Yes, pilots set a heading and mainly correct for wind, but the Coriolis effect on a typical flight is tiny. For a jet at 45 degrees latitude, it requires only about a 0.15 degree bank to counteract. That's so small the autopilot handles it automatically while keeping the plane on its programmed path. Pilots don't manually calculate it because it's negligible for normal flying. National Geographic is right that pilots account for it in long-distance flight planning through wind and route calculations, but it's not the dramatic "you'd end up in New York" scenario the book describes. The effect exists. It's just weak on aircraft scales.
That's something that I've learned myself about planes is that pilots don't necessarily fly the plane. The instruments fly the plane itself.
Mostly, yeah. Nowadays, more so, right?
Yeah. So
and now we got AI. Is AI actually going to start taking over plane flights?
Where do you think AI started from? Or not going to say started from exactly, but where do you think it was?
Space shuttle. Like the space shuttle would take over automatic. When they landed, the space shuttles would land automatically.
All right, so here's a Grok, explain heliocentric ideas and simply prove that heliocentrism is impossible. That's what one of his chapters.
The chapter is asking you to believe two things at once. Learn what heliocentrism is, then accept that it's impossible. Here's the simple truth. Heliocentrism is not impossible. It's the correct model. The sun is at the center of our solar system. Earth orbits it once a year while spinning once a day. Everything else matches centuries of observation. Every claim in these books falls apart when you actually test it. Stars change position with latitude, seasons work with a tilted spinning globe, ships disappear over the horizon bottom first, and GPS, satellites, and long-range radio all work exactly as designed on a round Earth. The evidence isn't hidden, it's overwhelming. If you want me to break down any specific proof from that chapter, tell me what it says and I'll fact-check it. Otherwise, the heliocentric...
Look, so this is what I want you to understand. I want you to talk about the book Almagest from Ptolemy. That's a book that's supposed to give the idea of a certain aspect of how the Earth is supposed to be. I want you to talk about the Almagest and just also talk about what you just said so that people can understand exactly how the Almagest, heliocentric, and all these other ideas came to be. Almagest is a crazy ass book I read, bro. That shit is crazy, crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Ptolemy's Almagest is a 2nd century book that laid out the geocentric model. It said Earth is a stationary sphere
Mhm.
sitting dead center of the universe, with the sun, moon, planets, and stars all revolving around it. To explain why planets sometimes appear to move backward, Ptolemy added epicycles, smaller circles on top of bigger circles. It was incredibly detailed and worked well for predicting positions using naked eye observations. That system dominated astronomy for over 1400 years. Then, in the 1500s, Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model,
I
putting the
think
sun at
ancient
the
people.
center with Earth and the other planets orbiting it. This explained retrograde motion more simply, as just Earth passing other planets. Kepler later showed orbits are ellipses, not perfect circles, and Galileo's telescope observations, like Jupiter's moons and Venus's phases, gave strong evidence for it. The shift happened because the heliocentric model eventually made better predictions with fewer tweaks and matched new observations. Both Ptolemy and the early heliocentrists agreed Earth is a sphere, by the way. Want me to dig into any specific part of this?
See, so you see what I'm saying is that's why I actually have that book. We'll go over that book in the future, the Almagest from Ptolemy. I have that book. That book is crazy, crazy, man. One of the hardest books that I've ever read. But this is why I say when people come up with these ideas, it just makes me think that a lot of these people don't think the idea of their facts and they don't really care about the facts because the next tab that he talks about Grok is Polaris proves that the heliocentric model is pure fantasy. Polaris, the North Star, is fixed above the North Pole of the Earth. The North Star does not move. It has never moved from its fixed position over the North Pole from the fourth day of creation, Genesis 1:16 until today. Fact check that. This is where it's about to get biblical.
Polaris does appear nearly fixed in the northern sky, that's true. It's very close to the north celestial pole, so it barely moves while other stars circle around it. But the rest of the claim doesn't hold up. Polaris is not perfectly fixed. It traces a small circle about 1.3 degrees wide every day, and over centuries, its position slowly shifts due to Earth's axial precession. Thousands of years ago, a different star was the North Star. More
That's
importantly,
facts.
the fixed above the North Pole from the beginning of creation part fails hard. Polaris is only visible in the northern hemisphere. Once you cross the equator going south, it drops below the horizon and disappears completely. On a flat Earth, everyone should see it all the time. The fact that its height above the horizon exactly matches your latitude is strong evidence for a spherical Earth. So it actually supports the globe model, not the flat one.
Hey, so real quick, tell me, because I know about the thousands of years, a different star was the North Star. What star was that North Star before? This is where it gets interesting. See, I don't even.
Thuban. About 5,000 years ago, during the time of the ancient Egyptians, Thuban in the constellation Draco was the North Star.
See,
It was much closer to the exact north celestial pole than Polaris is today. Polaris has only been the North Star for roughly the last 1,000 years.
see how when people say that if you're going to be a man about something and you're going to,
It's interesting.
change it. That's why I always tell everybody, look, man, if all you got to do is just give me sources for it and I'll just do this. Yo, hey, Grok, tell me what is the best source for this right now that I can learn about this Thuban
So
constellation.
why don't we use that anymore?
The best and easiest source right now is just searching Thuban North Star on Wikipedia. The page is well written, short, and gives you everything: its history, why it was the North Star, and how Earth's precession changed it. If you want something even simpler, just Google Thuban North Star. The first couple results are all solid.
A lot of
Want
people
me to
want to
pull
be
up a
like,
quick summary for you instead?
no, not Wikipedia. No, give me a
now
peer-reviewed article. Don't give me Wikipedia. Give me something that's respected out there in the world. That's what you got to do. That's how you go. That's why you don't have to dig through rabbit holes.
give Grok a break a little bit.
Nah, hell nah. Like it's thinking now.
You're
One
like
of the
on
most
a
respected
Grok
sources is a
binge.
2022 paper in Astronomy and Astrophysics, a top-tier peer-reviewed journal. It's titled Dynamical Parallax: Physical Parameters and Evolutionary Status of the Components of the Bright Eclipsing Binary Alpha Draconis. You can read it free here, aada.org. It focuses on Thuban's physical properties as a binary star system, but it treats Alpha Draconis, Thuban, as the well-known former pole star. For a solid overview that ties it directly to its history as the North Star, NASA's write-up on the test discovery also explains it clearly and references the original research papers. Want me to find something even more focused on the precession history?
No, so why did we change North Stars?
Earth's axis wobbles like a spinning top. This slow wobble, called axial precession, takes about 26,000 years to complete one full circle. As the axis moves, the point in the sky it points to gradually shifts, so the star closest to that point changes over the centuries. That's why Thuban was the North Star 5,000 years ago. Polaris is now, and in about 12,000 years, Vega will take over. It's just Earth's axis slowly
Oh.
sweeping around the sky.
We're going to be using Vega then.
See, so there we go with the facts.
Did-
We get the
Did you
facts,
know?
right?
Did you know that the Maya civilization did not believe the Earth was round?
So
They,
this is
they,
the next
they
step.
believe that we were
Go ahead,
on
I'm listening.
a crocodile.
Yeah, that matter of fact, they actually had different the crocodile was sometimes idea as a turtle in a sense because it has the round top and a flat bottom. That's actually in the symbols book that I was just reading.
And my thoughts is that is the people in Mexico today, have they adopted the flat Earth theory from their
They got it, and
ancestors?
they have the same idea as everybody does. Everybody's mixed up with it now. It's not as we're so mixed up in 2026. Everybody has their own theory. So I mean,
It's from their ancestors' beliefs. Why wouldn't they adopt their ancestors if that is a cultural belief? They believed in the four corners of the earth, just like what we're talking about, flat Earth theory, and they believed that we were on the back of a giant crocodile floating in a pond of water and living.
some of them thought a crocodile. A lot of them thought turtles. The crocodile. That's why I was saying earlier. The crocodile was a representation of sometimes as the turtle. The snap. You ever heard of the alligator snapping turtle? You ever heard about that?
Oh
This
no.
is the same concept. Yeah, same exact concept. So the next tab that I have on here, Grok, it says, indeed, Jesus stated without evocation that the moon is not a reflector, but gives off its own light. But in those days, after the tribulation, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. Mark 13:24. The sun shall be darkened, and the corollary is that the moon shall not give her light. Obviously, that means that the moon gives off its own light. And this is part of why he believes that the earth is flat. Fact check that. This dude talks about the moon. That's why I was telling you.
That's a misreading of the verse. Jesus is using poetic, prophetic language, the same style found in the Old Testament. When the Bible says the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, it's describing a time of judgment and cosmic upheaval. It's not a science lesson about how the moon produces light. In reality, the moon does reflect sunlight. We can prove this easily. The moon's light is slightly yellow because it reflects the sun's spectrum, and during a lunar eclipse, the moon turns reddish because it's only lit by sunlight bent through Earth's atmosphere. The verse is about dramatic signs, not physics. Using it to argue the moon generates its own light is taking poetry as literal science, which the text itself doesn't require.
See, so what I wanted to tell
And
you.
the color of the sun is actually white, not yellow. The yellow is because of our atmosphere.
You was watching Neil Tyson Degrassi, huh?
Yes, I actually had to fact check Tyson on that. I was like, really? It's white? Yeah, because of our atmosphere, we see different colors, hues
That's why
of
the
colors.
sky is blue, also because of the
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to fact check everybody that is
Well,
on social media these days.
The next couple of tabs that he goes into on this is mostly biblical stuff. So here we go. So this is another tab. Google Earth is a tool of propaganda designed to conceal the flat Earth. Proof of that fact can be easily determined by anyone. Take any facing point on any physical sphere and rotate the sphere 360 degrees across, and you will return to the sphere to its original orientation with the starting point facing you. But when you take any facing point on Google Earth and then rotate the graphic of the Earth in the Google Earth Pro software at 360 degrees from east to west or vice versa, you will find that you have not returned to your starting point. You would need to continue turning the graphic an extra 90 degrees or so to get back to your starting point. Fact check that.
The title of this podcast should be "Interviewing Grok."
These are the facts that
This claim is false. It's a misunderstanding of how Google Earth Pro works. On a physical sphere, when you spin it 360 degrees, the same point faces you again. That's true. Google Earth Pro does the exact same thing mathematically. What the book is describing is likely the compass orientation. In Google Earth, you can freely rotate and tilt the view. After you spin the globe, the map might appear rotated relative to north up on your screen, so it doesn't look exactly like your starting view. Press the N key. It instantly snaps the view back to north up. That's a software feature for user convenience, not proof of propaganda. The underlying 3D model is a globe and behaves correctly. This argument confuses the program's camera controls with the actual shape of the Earth.
Yeah, see how I say that?
Google Earth offends the flat earther because it just shows the Earth round and not flat.
Well, a lot of this, like I said, a lot of this stuff he talks about in here, he uses also as he uses the Bible as proof. I'm not sure why it matters if Earth is flat or round to some people. To me, it really doesn't matter if the Earth is flat or round. And the only reason why is because it's not going to change anything about me. What is it going to change if I found out either way? You know what I'm saying? But I can say that for the most part, when I read something from somebody else's interpretation, I can see both sides. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we got pictures of Earth and it shows that it's round. I've even said myself that I don't have to think that the Earth is round because all I got to do is look up at the sky and see the moon and the sun and then just assume with the best assumption that I can possibly give is that the land that I'm standing on is also round. But we also read that Chinese mythologies and Vietnamese mythologies and symbolism that, why the Earth could be flat and round at the same time is an interesting idea. I know a lot of people want to be right and say, oh, the Earth is flat and the Earth is round. And, everybody says their arguments and everybody says, well, what sources do you have? How many people have actually been to space? Normal Joe Moes on X are not on going to space.
I dreamed of being in space.
But no regular Joe Smo like me and you are going to space, right? So we're not.
Do you have billions of dollars?
But we're not. That's what I'm saying is that we would never be able to see for 100% either way. Yeah. We can only go off of what the information is given to us. Whether
if you're a billionaire out there and you want to invite me to go on a SpaceX ride, I'll go. I'll go with you. I'll be a good ride share with you.
But listen to me.
I'd love to go.
He uses
be on my next podcast.
He uses the Bible and says that the Bible indicates that the Earth is round or flat in his eyes, right? But we have already in the beginning of the podcast shown how there's scriptures that can say either way. So like he says right here, I'll bring Grok in here. He says, Grok, this is what he says. He says, Westcott and Hort were both necromancers who were members of an occult club called the Ghostly Guild. Westcott also founded another club and named it Hermes. According to Luciferian Blavatsky, Hermes and Satan are one and the same. Hort viewed evangelical Christians as dangerous, perverted, unsound, and confused.
Yes, satanic scriptures submerged.
That's what I'm saying. He uses religion.
That's what he's talking about.
Some of it is true. Some of it is exaggerated or misleading. They did help start the Ghostly Guild at Cambridge in 1851. It was a student group that investigated ghosts and supernatural phenomena. They believed such things might be real and wanted to study them seriously. Westcott did found a club called the Hermes Club a few years earlier. That's accurate. Necromancers is too strong. They were investigating spiritualism, not proven to be summoning the dead or practicing magic. It was more like early paranormal research.
I was
The
waiting for
Hermes
her to
equals
say
Satan part comes
D&D.
from Helena Blavatsky, a real occultist and Luciferian. That's her opinion, not a universal fact. Hort did write that evangelical doctrine seemed perverted rather than untrue and had issues with biblical authority. He was more liberal in his theology. This comes from KJV-only critics who use these facts to attack modern Bible translations. The clubs were real, but calling them full-blown necromancers is hype.
But that's what I'm saying is that this guy uses information like this,
By
and
the
he
way, we
says
have
this
10
is
minutes.
this what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm saying when we get through these, and we're almost done. He talks about the tree of life, the Kabbalah in this book, and his ideas. This is supposed to be information that's supposed to be geared towards flat Earth. He also says Einstein's theory of relativity was able to explain away the null results of Michelson and Morley experiment. According to Einstein, the speed of light is a constant, and consequently, an object moving through space would not show movement. If light was used to measure the speed of motion, according to Einstein, the speed of light is constant for every observer, no matter what speed the observer is traveling. You know, he brings up Nikola Tesla in here. And he talks about the FBI files and stuff like that. Like he talks about this dude. I'm telling you, I didn't like this book, and I don't really say this so much about books. I didn't like this book because it was like every time I went to research what he was saying and that he was trying to counter, when I would look it up, it would say otherwise or would give more detail, like context to the information, right? And you know, he doesn't get, and he uses like some of his sources, like I said, he uses sources that's from like the 1800s in some cases, right? Or he uses the biblical text as some things. And it just tells me that, you know, at this point, you know, he talks about, man, look, he even talks about the World Trade Center and all this stuff, like how it was a conspiracy, about how one WTC building 7 came down and all this other stuff. Like he goes, it's like he forgets that he's talking about flat Earth, and then he goes into all these other stuff. And then he, I think he has about 100 pages. Let me see. In notes. So the book the book stops at 847. Okay, so there's only 847 pages, right? A lot of it is just a lot of weird stuff. But then he has end notes and other things and that goes all the way up to, he has almost 200 pages of end note. So you can actually go to each one of his end notes and see that, okay, the first one is Live Science, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Then he talks about the Christian Post, the Christian Post, the Christian Post. Then Fox News, Christian Bakery guilty. Then Christian Bakery. Hold up now. Christian Bakers. Christian Baker's face. Christian Baker's face. Christian Baker's, like, you can tell where, and I say this to a lot of people, if you buy a book solely on flat Earth, and you believe in flat Earth, that information is going to look good to you, right? Because it's all about flat Earth. It's what makes you feel good. But the point is that you have to learn how to see if the information is accurate or not. We went through this almost, not every single one of these tabs, of course, because I already explained why I don't go through every single one of them. But going through the tabs that we did, it shows that he talked about one idea and then his idea kind of faded when you did your research. Like he said something and then you can be like, okay, if I don't go look this up, he's right. But when you go look it up, you can see that he's wrong. And it's sad because a lot of people believe in this flat Earth stuff. A lot of people believe in the idea of if the Earth is round. So this is what I'm going to do since everybody wanted to know.
And I wanted to conclude
Grok,
with the psychological as well.
Hey, Grok, hey, tell everybody what is the actual shape of the Earth.
The Earth is an oblate spheroid. It's a sphere that's slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator because of its
Flat.
rotation. The difference is small. only about 13 miles, but that's the actual shape. Not
So
perfectly round, but very close to a sphere.
when people
Definitely
ask
not
They
flat.
they must live on
no, so
Antarctica.
when
That's why it's
somebody asks
flat.
me, hey, so hey, correct me if I'm wrong, Grok. Does Neil Tyson Degrassi actually say it's like a not a it's like a pear, I believe it is?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did say that.
Yes.
Neil deGrasse Tyson once said the Earth is pear-shaped.
Yeah.
He was trying to be dramatic in an interview, but he was exaggerating.
Yeah.
The truth is, the Earth is very slightly oblate. It's about 26 miles wider at the equator
Yeah.
than pole to pole.
So
The southern hemisphere is just a tiny bit more bulged than the northern, which is what he was referring to. But it's such a small difference that calling it pear-shaped is a huge stretch.
yeah.
It's
So
still basically a sphere.
why I brought up Neil Tyson Degrassi was because what you said earlier. I remember watching an interview of him saying that, and he
Yeah,
said that.
we probably
Well,
watched the same interview.
no, this I know you're talking about the new interview. This was
Oh,
like
yeah.
years ago. This interview when he was talking about the pear shape. But when people ask me what do I think the Earth shaped is, I'm going to say oblate spheroid. And when they say, well, what that means, I'm going to say slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. So a little bit of flatness, a little bit of a roundness.
I try
Flat round.
not to be complicated. People
I'm
are
not being. That's not complicated.
No,
That's
no,
exactly
no,
what
no.
it is, though.
You say what you want to say, but when I start being complicated, people want so much information that I don't want to sit there talking about it all day.
That's why this is not complicated, because this is not complicated at all. If somebody asks you what shape is the Earth, you would say an oblate spheroid, and you would say that it's flat on the poles and round on the bulging at the equator.
Because I don't carry this around all day long, you know.
No,
So
no,
I
see,
mean,
this
in
is the thing.
conversations, I don't have
I don't.
this.
I,
With
I,
me.
I've
It's
never
not like
had,
I pull it out of a pocket or anything.
I never went to the store and had a conversation with anybody about this type of stuff. But what I'm saying is, when you have a conversation and somebody asks you, you can say that you understand that it's flat at the poles and round at the
I
equator.
make money off of this.
So you understand. So me, when I talk about this, when I say this, when somebody says, "Hey, what is the Earth?" That's what I'm going to tell them. And if they say, "Well, is it round or is it flat?" I'm gonna say it's flat on the poles. It's more flat on the poles, more flat on the poles, and it's more round on the equator. Now, if
Okay.
they sit here and say, no, it's either one or the other, then I'm gonna just be like, well, shit, then you don't know what you're talking about. Because if you go type this in right now, that's what it's going to tell you. And the reason why I brought up the whole thing about the pear shape for Tyson, for Neil Tyson Degrassi, was because you talked about him earlier, and he had an interview like years ago. It could have been like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, about this. So when people say, hey, I'm going to go to Rebirth because he said this is how the Earth looks, I'm going to say, no, that's not how it looks. So this is what I would do.
It's
next.
on a plate.
No, so this is what I do next. Hey, Grok, I'm not going to tell it right now. I'm going to say, hey, Grok, create a 1200 by 630 picture of this, and then that way
I can't create or generate pictures. I'm a
okay,
voice
so I
only
can't do it
assistant.
right now. So I got to
Sorry
do it
about
to the
that.
other
Here,
one.
I wanted to bring up something real quick on the belief of flat earthers, and this is in the social science hemisphere, and this is in my expertise. For many modern believers, the flat earth movement is heavily intertwined with biblical lyricism and religious fundamentalism. They view science not as a tool for discovery, but as an existential weapon designed to destroy faith. So they feel very like that science is attacking their beliefs. That's why they attack back. So when NASA comes up with these flights and rocket ships and everything, they have a divine ego. This is called divine ego boost, and this is actually written in peer reviews. Moving from a speck of dust in an infinite void to the literal center of divine ego ecosystems is an incredibly powerful psychological upgrade, exposing NASA's lies. When they start talking about NASA, and you see this in social media, and especially in the comments, when they start talking about NASA and their lies, and this is fake, and the moon landing is fake, and all that stuff, becomes a righteous, holy mission to prove that religion is right and that humanity is genuinely sacred. So this is what you're going to see mostly in social media, and this is actually in peer review. It's written a lot in peer review. I have it up right now, but I have 3 peer reviews that they talk about how conspiracy theorists or people that believe in flat Earth get a kick out of proving that science is wrong and they are right, and they're not right. They're actually wrong, but they feel they are right.
Well, everything that I just
Psychologically.
everything that I just talked about. If anybody out there wants to show me how the Earth is actually flat according to science, I need them to watch this video, go through everything that we just talked about in here, and counter it with scientific data.
Yeah.
Until then, I can only believe that the Earth is oblate spheroid, and that's it.
Yep. If
So-
you guys enjoyed this, please pass it on and share it with your friends and family, because this conversation is not over.
Well, it's over. It's over today because we're about
That's
to shut it
right.
down. But we'll be doing another book. Let's see. I could probably bring it up since we have a few minutes.
When you eat off your plate, think about flat Earth.
But that's the facts. That's why a lot of people believe in flat Earth, and why they believe in the facts that they think the Earth is flat in the first place is because
And that's a good reason why you should buy a gator plate. That way you can think about, so you can have a topic of conversation at parties. You have a big gator plate and say, hey, did you know that the Mayans believed that the Earth was flat and everybody was on top of a gator? That would be.
I got to stop you. It wasn't that all of them. Don't say Mayans. Some of them, not all of them, because they all had different city states. Saying Mayans means that they all believed that, and they didn't, because some of them, like I said, believed in the turtle theory.
Oh.
So you don't want to put that out there. You don't want to put out that out there.
Maybe the Aztecs believed in the turtle.
No,
theory.
like I was saying earlier, it's city states. Every city had its own city states. That's like saying every Christian believes the same thing. Not every Christian believes in the same thing. A lot of Christians,
we throw them all into one boat, right?
Yeah,
everybody goes into one
do.
boat. You have to believe me. They all think the same. I'm gonna be on a box.
So,
you have to believe in this.
The next book that I'm going to do, or we're going to do, is, let's see.
Thank you guys for watching and listening to us, and bringing in some truth into all this, and in this conversation, and helping us out. And also, some of you are listening to this. You guys didn't know that we have people are listening on our live and also communicating with us at the same time.
So this book is Christianity Before Christ with John G. Jackson. He talked about some stuff in his book about Christianity before Christ. So the idea before, a lot of people believe Christianity started because of Christ, but he's saying Christianity before Christ. So like I always say, knowledge is power. And until next time, we'll see y'all.
Got a little hype now, can I let it die down? I remember days in the trench. Time to go hard in, time to go all in, time to get my all to this shit. Panamera maxed out, first class flights out, Atlantic to Pacific, yeah, it's lit.